This tutorial explains how to display only values in a plot using the R programming language. So without too much talk, let's dive into the R code. In this tutorial, I will show you two examples, and both of these examples are based on the data frame that we can create with lines 2 to 4 of the code. So if you run these lines of code, you can see at the top right of RStudio that a new data frame object is appearing, which is called data. And if you click on this data frame object, a new window is opened, which is showing the structure of our data set. And as you can see, our data frame contains two columns, which are called X and Y. And both of these columns contain numeric values. Now, if you want to draw these data using base R, then we can apply the plot function, as you can see in lines 6 to 7 of the code. And within the plot function, we need to specify the X and Y values. And in this case, we are setting these values to our X and Y columns in our data frame. So if you run lines 6 and 7 of the code, you can see at the bottom right of RStudio that a new plot is appearing, which is showing our data points in a scatterplot. However, you can also see that at this point, our plot is shown with dots instead of numbers. So if we want to draw numbers instead of these points, we can use the code that you can see in lines 9 to 14. So in lines 9 to 11, I'm using the plot function once again. And as in the previous step, I'm specifying our X and Y values based on the data frame columns in our data set. However, then I'm also setting the type argument to be equal to the character n. So if you run lines 9 to 11 of the code, you can see that a new plot is created. However, this time this plot is shown without any data points. And then in the next step, in lines 12 to 14 of the code, I'm using the text function. And within the text function, I'm specifying our two columns. And I'm specifying the labels in our plot to be equal to the values in the column Y. So if you run lines 12 to 14 of the code, you can see that our plot is updated. And as you can see, our plot is now showing the Y data points as numbers. So in this first example, I have explained how to use the basic installation of the R programming language to create a plot with values. However, I also want to show you a second example in which I'm using the ggplot2 package to create such a plot. And in order to use the functions of the ggplot2 package, we first need to install and load the package, as you can see in lines 16 and 17 of the code. I have installed this package already, so for that reason I'm just going to load it with line 17 of the code. So after running this line of code, we are able to use the functions of the ggplot2 package, such as ggplot and gonPoint, as you can see in lines 19 and 20 of the code. So if you run these lines of code, you can see at the bottom right that a new plot is created in this typical ggplot2 style. And you can see at this point, this plot is showing our data points as dots. So if we want to update this plot so that the data points are shown as text labels, we can use the code that you can see in lines 22 and 23. So in line 22, I'm using exactly the same syntax as in line 19. But then in line 23, I'm using the gonText function instead of the gonPoint function. So if you run lines 22 to 23 of the code, you can see that our plot is updated, and this time our plot is shown with values instead of dots. That's all I wanted to explain in this video. In case you want to learn more on this topic, you may check out my homepage, statisticsglobe.com, because on my homepage I have recently published a tutorial in which I'm explaining the content of this video in some more detail. I will put a link to this tutorial into the description of the video, so you can find it there. If you have liked this video, or if you have any questions, let me know in the comments section below. I'll try to respond to all comments as soon as I can. Furthermore, make sure to subscribe to my YouTube channel to get notified about future video releases. I have already published about 500 videos on this channel, and I'm releasing new videos on a daily basis. Thanks a lot for watching. See you in the next video.